All right, I moved again. I know the audio is going to be all over the place, but you just got to do what you got to do. And the information needs to be out no matter how we do it. I want to talk about, because this will be a short one, Logan Acres. Okay, they are the Logan County nursing home. Back in 2020, they had to find this information. They had to do some research and go back and get the little pay sheets. I have them over here. November 18th of 2020, they sold 15 of our beds to Logan Acres for $215,000. Okay, so we got that money in 2020. Okay, then in March of 2020, March 4th, we got an additional November. Okay, so the $10,000 was first, obviously in March. We got, it was kind of, I guess it's kind of a down payment. We got $10,000, and then in November we got the $215,000. So $225,000, which is fairly expensive, you know, when you go back and look at it for those 15 beds for them to purchase, right? These beds. So what need, so Logan Acres, well, I had a grandmother who was over at Logan Acres. It's very nice. So they have spent from 2020. All right, so here's the process. We're talking about process. The Logan Acres says, we want to expand our building, right? They have a management company that come in and run their facility. Okay, so let's step back just a moment, and we're going to talk about the government of these nursing homes. And I don't know, and I can't find any answers. Maybe one day I will know, but then again, probably not, because we don't have a nursing home. There is a lot of confusion on who's responsible for what. Okay, so you have our Hardin County, right? And our commissioners own the land. They own infirmary farms, all that land, the nursing homes, they're over it. And as far as I understand, they are the bosses, right? The buck stops with the 3 commissioners on what happens at the nursing home. They appoint or they hire a nursing home administrator, okay, to hold that position. Now, that, you know, they need to oversee the nursing home administrator, okay? But in some legal instances, you know, you maybe can say, you know, commissioners say, oh, she has appointed authority, or he, whoever it is, they have appointed authority, and so therefore they're responsible for what happens in their facility because, you know, she can sign for certain things, I'm assuming. Now I'll say she because that's who the last person was. It's not always a she, it's a being he. They have to bring stuff to get approval from the commissioners because the commissioners pay all the bills like they do for a lot of the county, okay? And so in some legal instances, the commissioners are saying, oh no, it's the administrator because it's appointed authority. But then the administrator says, you know, I'm just a hired person, you know, it's the commissioners are ultimately responsible. So legally how that works is very unclear. You know, it's probably on a case-to-case kind of basis, but ultimately you have the nursing home staff, nurses, maintenance people, okay, then you have your managers over those people, and then you have your directors, like directors of nursing, the DON, I don't know, I mean, you have an HR person, you have a maintenance person, you have a housekeeping manager, you know, so managers, directors. I should get a flow chart, hierarchy for that facility. And that would definitely help explain it. And then you have the administrator, and the administrator just administrates all the things. But ultimately, the director of nursing is in charge of all the nurses. And there's another one I can't think of. And they are the ones who run the facility. Okay, so you don't technically need an administrator. Like, it doesn't, you know, it's not a mandatory thing. And the interesting thing is, when we did the tour, the whole upstairs of the facility is for housing the administrator. So you had somebody 24/7 basically on property that could take care of anything, you know, and oversee the building. And that was always a provided housing until Sharon came in 2019. And I'm not sure how they worked that all out, but she had a house over in Marion, and she stayed there and then did not live on property. And so they moved. So on F wing, they had lots of empty rooms, and I'm assuming that's where all their offices were. You know, that when we went through, they were training rooms. Like, if you had to do continuing ed training, they did it down in those rooms. But those used to be offices, and then they moved the offices and refitted them just recently with all, you know, Ethernets and, you know, electronics, so that all those offices were up in the housing area, which is kind of a hard move, because if somebody come in and wanted to live on premises to be the administrator, they wouldn't be allowed to, because now their offices and everything got jumbled up. You'd have to revert them back, kind of thing. Anyways, now I've gotten off my script. So that's kind of how, you know, how does the, you know, but the commissioners are ultimately responsible for, you know, what happens in that nursing home. Okay, so that's kind of the big thing, and how much responsibility they take for that, or how much involvement they have in that, is, you know, kind of up to them. But they're ultimately the authority. How Logan County does it is that they hire a management firm that comes in and manages it for them. That, yes, it's a cost, okay, but they manage all the things, and they've done an excellent job, to the point where Logan County says, we need to expand. We want to expand, and they expanded their Alzheimer's wing, I believe, with those 15 beds. Okay, so they come to our commissioners, or maybe our commissioners went to them. I'm not so sure. And, you know, somehow there was agreement that said, hey, we have 15 beds, and they said, yeah, sure, we're going to buy them. And so they got those beds in 2020. They file, which maybe that's the difference. January, March, April, May, June, July. Well, that would be a 9-month process, which, you know, if you figure you put $10,000 down on those beds, and then it takes you 9 months to get your certificate of need, right? Your CON from ODH. Okay, so, and this is what Van Crest is going to be doing right now, which might be a little different because they're already certified beds, might go a little bit quicker. But Logan Acres, you know, basically a 9-month process. They said, yes, we'll take our beds, and then we're going to have the blueprints, and we're going to have all our application. You know, they've got a bunch of different paperwork that they have to submit in a packet to ODH. ODH will look at that CON, you know, and they're basically saying, they're telling ODH, hey, we have a need, and we would like to buy these beds, and we would like permission to hold these beds. Okay, and so they do the thing, it goes through the process, and ODH says, all right, we're going to grant you a certificate of need, a CON, and you have to come and report to us every 6 months on your progress. We're not going to ask you, right? They tell you right there in the paperwork, we're not going to ask for this information, but you have to submit it every 6 months. And if you don't submit it, then you're going to lose your CON and not have those beds, right? You're gonna lose the beds. You're going to default on your application. So since 2020, Logan Acres, you know, submitted their packet, they got it approved, and every 6 months they're reporting to ODH saying, you know, it's going to take us 2.5 years to build this additional wing on our facility, right? So they say, okay, we broke ground, okay, now we have the foundations all done. Oh, now we have the outside all done. Now we're working on the inside, right? And so they go through every 6 months and prove to ODH that yes, we are still making progress, because you can't just hold these beds, right? ODH wants to know that you're in good faith moving forward on your project and holding their beds, and you're just not kind of tucking them under your arm and, taking off. And so their due diligence is showing, right? And I did talk to one of the commissioners over there, super nice guy, and their opening was supposed to be August 1st. So I need to go over and see that they actually did open, because they were really close. So, I mean, it's taken them, 3 years to build this additional wing on. And I'm sure you run into all kinds of problems, but you're still making progress. And that's all ODH is concerned about, okay? Now, remember, this is county beds. They're not paying that $5,000 a year tax. So that's really important. So there was an interesting thing happened. March of 20, okay? They got a letter, somehow there was a correspondence through email that I saw, and they had communications with, I'm assuming Rolf, that, we're gonna close our facility, right? So we're going kind of through this process. So we kind of are holding these beds still, and Logan Acres is, holding them with us. We're going to transfer them finally to this person, but you're not going to build a facility if you don't know you have beds, right? But we still own those beds. And so they haven't completed their facility and actualized those beds over, right? And so March 20th of 24, there's communications that said, hey, we have 3 options. Hardin County has 3 options to deal with these beds, right? From ODH standpoint, to say you can put these beds in 3 different categories, but you really only have one option because you're dealing here with Logan Acres. And so they take option 2 to place the beds on approved hold. Okay, so again, did we not have the beds labeled appropriately for Logan Acres, right? We received the money. Were we just sort of holding the beds, as part of ours, is what I would assume, because everybody thought we had 85 beds. But we don't have 85 beds. We should have taken 15 of those beds a long time ago and put those into an approved hold position so that they can then go on to Logan Acres. Because here's the crazy thing. If we would have closed our facility, right? So if we were just holding those 85 beds, those 15 beds of Logan Acres, and we close our facility, Logan Acres wouldn't have beds. They would have spent 3 years building a facility, thinking and paying for beds, thinking that they were going to get them. And then at the very last minute, they don't have the beds to open with. Then they can't open their facility that they've been working for 3 years on. Because in March 20th, that's right around the time that it was the point where they knew they were going to close. April 11th is right around the corner. So we say, we're going to close on July 10th, right? That's before the August 1st open date for Logan Acres, right? So they needed to make sure that they had their beds, and that in that 1 month time frame, they weren't going to misplace the beds and not have an opening August 1st. So thankfully that didn't happen, but that was a real issue that they needed to make sure was worked out. And like I said, I need to go over and make sure that Logan Acres did have their grand opening, and they know that August 1st, as soon as they're open, their beds were full. They had people waiting. So good for them for having a county home that is not only thriving, but growing, right? And So I think that's an incredible benefit to their community. And so that's the Logan Acres part of the story. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see what comes next.